Welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm Brenda Winkle, an intuitive leadership coach and somatic guide for high performers, high achievers who want more freedom, ease, joy, and energy. You are a visionary leader, driven, intuitive, and ready for more. More flow in your work, more presence and joy in your life and relationships, more trust in yourself and the decisions you make every day. Here, we explore the intersection of intuition, leadership, and energetic sovereignty, blending practical strategy with energetic alignment so you can create success that feels deeply fulfilling at work, at home, in your relationships, and in your own well-being. You'll hear inspiring stories, practical strategies, and high-level conversations designed to help you integrate the woo into your daily life. Because when your energy is aligned, everything flows. Ready to elevate how you lead and live? Start by downloading my free energy audit at brendawinkle.com/audit and discover what's fueling or depleting you. Let's do this. Your yes-filled life starts now. Hello and welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle. Today on the podcast, we have a special two-part series with Polly Warren, the host of the hit podcast Menomorphosis, as in menopause, Menomorphosis. Polly Warren is a breathwork and nervous system coach, speaker, and host of this podcast, redefining midlife as a potent turning point, not a slow decline. She supports high-functioning, heart-led women who are done with overriding their inner world and who are ready to lead, love, and live from a place of calm, clarity, and grounded confidence. With expert training in both functional and transformational breathwork, Polly blends science-backed tools with deep emotional intelligence. I'm so excited for this episode because we are talking about the midlife transition that so many women face, whether it's the journey from midlife into perimenopause or perimenopause into menopause. And this podcast series is going to give you hope. It's going to make you feel a lot less alone, and it's going to give you really tangible tools to deal with the transitions and changes that this period of life can bring for each of us. So before we dive in, I want to tell you about something I'm really excited about. I have a question for you first. Are you ready to stop overthinking and finally trust yourself? Well, I'm hosting a free workshop called Embodied Clarity. This is a 90-minute workshop on September 9th, 2025. In this live trauma-informed space, you'll learn practical energy and somatic tools that you can use right away. You'll discover how to protect your energy, raise your vibration, and reconnect with the clarity that's already within you so you can lead your life and your work with more presence and ease. Now, this workshop is inclusive, immigrant friendly, and a BIPOC and LGBTQ affirming space. Seats are free, but they're limited, and the replay will be available through September 11th. So if you're not available on September 9th at 5 p.m. Pacific time, you can catch the replay. Reserve your spot now at brendawinkle.com/clarity. That's brendawinkle.com/clarity. It's time to come home to yourself. And with that theme in mind, it's time to come home to yourself. Let's dive into this conversation with the incredible Polly Warren, host of Menomorphosis. Hi, Polly.
Brenda, hello. How lovely to see you again.
It is so great to see you. We were just taking some breaths together before we hit record, and I'm feeling refreshed and aligned and so grateful to be here.
Yes, me too. Really looking forward to our conversation and excited to try something different and new with you. So, this is going to be a two-part conversation. So, the first part is going to go into Brenda's podcast, and the second part is going to go into my podcast. And I really love this idea. It's like we decided our audiences were pretty similar, pretty aligned. So, why not do a two-parter?
That's right. I'm so excited for it. So, the name of your podcast, Polly, will you tell all the listeners so they can go make sure
Sure.
that they get part two?
It is Menomorphosis. So the idea, it's all about midlife, so hence the meno part of it, for menopause and all those hormonal shifts and this identity shift we get at this stage of life. And it's all about transformation and change. And because this stage of life is often about so much change, and it doesn't necessarily all have to be negative, which I think so many of us believe it is for many a
Mhm.
reason. But actually, it can be really quite an amazing opportunity to really step into your best self.
I agree. I agree. So I'm postmenopausal. I have been for several years, and I like this phase. But I remember the perimenopausal phase, and I didn't know it was perimenopausal. I didn't have any awareness around that, but I knew things were changing and shifting, and I think that that can be really challenging for people as their bodies change, their mental focus changes, even their cognitive abilities are affected, and can lead to depression, anxiety, heart palpitations, all those things. How do you approach the conversation so that people can begin to feel a little bit lighter, feel a little bit more hopeful about this phase of life?
Well, I think the first thing is to have the conversation, to just have an awareness, firstly, that that it's happening to half of the population. And I think, particularly here in the UK, there has been so much conversation about perimenopause, menopause in the last 5 years, really, since I've been talking about it. It's been absolutely amazing. I think it is beginning to spread. There's still a huge amount of work to do. But I think until then, it was very much a taboo subject. It was swept under the carpet. And so many of us had no idea of it unless we'd had the conversations with our mothers or with somebody else in our network we didn't even know that it was coming. And for me, that was exactly the case. I honestly thought menopause was something which happened to old ladies who were much, much older than me. So for me, when it really started to kick off in my late 30s, early 40s, I just thought I was going a little bit crazy. I thought I was going a little bit mad. I just did not recognize myself. So I think the first thing is just to have the awareness, to have these conversations, to understand what is what may happen. It might not happen to you, but to understand that we go through these hormonal shifts, and it's not something which is way down the track. It is something which happens in midlife.
I think that's exactly what I would have said too. My mom and my grandmother always made it a really big deal. And when I say a really big deal, I mean my grandmother had really significant life-threatening health problems as she approached menopause, not realizing there was such a thing as perimenopause. And she told my mom that it was her life's goal to live through my mom's menopause to make sure she had the support she needed. And so that was part of our family lore, is that, this is going to be a big deal and it could be really unpleasant. And so it was quite shocking for me to find out I was postmenopausal in an email, which I talked about on your episode of
Mm-hmm.
your podcast about a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And so my mom was shocked too, because we had both anticipated that it would be similar to what my grandmother and what she experienced. And mine looked different because of my lifestyle, because of my Reiki, because of my breath work. It didn't hit my body in the same way it hit their bodies. And also, I think our nutrition is different than it may have been at that time. And there's a lot of variables, right?
And that's the thing, Brenda. No woman is probably going to have the same experience as the next. And maybe your mother and your grandmother did have a similar experience, but that's actually very unusual. It can hit us in all sorts of different ways. And that is why it's very difficult to know if it is happening to or not, because there is such a wide range of possible symptoms, which often are uncovered because there might actually be some underlying issues going on anyway. So it's when our hormones start to shift at that sort of time when it's about in your 40s, late 30s, 40s, 50s, it can often unveil a whole host of other hidden issues. So if you're not looking after yourself, it really is your body's way of going, hold on a minute, something really needs some attention. And this is what I see as a really great opportunity to actually sit up and listen to what your body is saying and go, okay, right, now I've got to shift some things in my life because what I'm doing now isn't working anymore. When you're young, you can treat your body in many ways, and actually you can get away with it. But when you get to this phase of life, actually it's really difficult to get away with it anymore. You've actually got to start listening.
Mm. So you're connecting dots for me that I had not connected, even just in what you said, because I had a major health crisis in 2019. And of course, I was perimenopausal at the time, not having realized it, but I had a major unexpected emergency surgery that caused my body to go into shock. And so doctors thought that the reason that I had stopped menstruating at that time was because of the shock of the surgery, but I never resumed menstruation. And so it's possible, maybe even probable, to think that the issues might have been connected and I didn't even realize it.
Quite possibly, absolutely. I mean, your body is sort of amazing at shifting and changing, and I really do think that in the right conditions, your body can thrive. And at menopause, often we're not giving it those conditions it needs to make this transition. And so, yeah, I mean, with you, obviously there were other things going on which needed to happen, and it was only really when things started to right themselves again that perhaps that's when your body kind of got on with the job of shifting and into the next phase.
Exactly. So, what are some things that we can do to support our bodies in this phase of life? You've built the success, you've proven yourself, but you're still holding back, second guessing, people pleasing, shrinking in rooms that weren't built for you. It's time to stop. Your Yes Filled Life is a 12-week trauma informed group experience where high achieving, intuitive leaders learn to set boundaries that stick, activate their voice, and lead with energy and intuition that feels like freedom. Enrollment is open now. Join us at brendawinkle.com/, your yes filled life. Say yes to your power. That's brendawinkle.com/, your yes filled life. So, what are some things that we can do to support our bodies in this phase of life?
Well, listen, tune in, listen and tune in, and track really what is going on. So, for anybody who is not aware of their cycle, it's a really important to know when your cycle is. It's obviously going to change. Just to track and notice that, that's really important. But also just to really look after yourself. So nutrition is obviously vital. It's vital in all parts of life, but at this stage, we really need to be focusing on giving ourselves all those nutrients. So many of us are depleted in nutrients as we get to this phase through lifestyle. If people have had a family and had pregnancy and children, often we're kind of coming at this stage already very depleted. So it's about really ensuring we're having a nutrient dense diet, balancing our blood sugar, because again, when our hormones are beginning to shift, it affects our how we metabolize blood sugar. So it's really important, just whole foods, lots of nutrients, keep moving our bodies. When we get older, we are more prone to bone density issues. We lose a certain amount of our bone density year on year. Our muscle mass also decreases. It's not all doom and gloom. There's things we can actually do to keep to help ourselves with this. So lifting heavy things, resistance training, all of these are now for me absolutely non-negotiable to keep healthy. And this isn't about, for me now, it's okay, looking good is great, but it's not about looking good. It's not about going on a diet. It is about becoming healthy and strong so that I can be as vital as I can be going into my older age, so I can run around after my grandchildren, so that I can put my own suitcase up on the rack when I get on an aeroplane. All those things are really important, and
Hmm.
we can't bury our heads in the sand anymore about what happens as we get through this stage of life. And if we think, a lot of our ancestors wouldn't have reached perhaps 50 as a woman, so they wouldn't have had to deal with these issues. And so we get the privilege that we've reached this age, so we actually have to take really good care of ourselves now. So yeah, moving, eating, managing our stress, all of these are vital. Stress isn't can exacerbate all of the symptoms as you know, at menopause. So we've really got to take that little bit of extra care.
It's so good. And you mentioned at the beginning that this can be a really beautiful time, a really beautiful phase in life. And I have found that to be true. I found that I'm living more authentically than I had ever lived. I'm unapologetic about chasing joy. I feel more connected to source, to other people, to myself than I ever have. And I don't know whether it's evolution of myself, whether it's the inner work that I've done, which I have done substantial inner work, but I can't help but wonder if it's also the fact that I'm in this new phase. I feel like I have a new power source.
And I think that's so true. I think we do when you're, if you think, and I know Chinese medicine has some theories on this, if you think when you are fertile, a lot of your energy is going down into your uterus, into that area. And when you no longer are putting your energy into that area, into that whole system, where's that energy going to go? It's creative energy. If you think you're creating life with that energy. So actually, it's got to go somewhere. So I do think we become these more creative beings as we go through into our midlife, and I've definitely felt that as well. And I think that we are really more tuned into our purpose, what we really want to get out of life, and it is this amazing opportunity to really hone into that. I hear all the time that women at this stage are sometimes a bit like, bleh, is this it? Is this what I signed up for? And they've got to a point where perhaps the children are beginning to grow up, don't need them so much, and their careers aren't really lighting them up. And it's a bit like, there must be more to this. And that's exactly how I felt. And so if that's something that you're feeling, it's actually a really amazing opportunity to start thinking, okay, this is good. I've identified that it's not working for me anymore. I can actually pivot. I can start following my joy. I can start finding what are those things which really do light me up. And yeah, I just think it's such an amazing opportunity. And that has definitely happened for me. I know so many people who it's happened to. I work with lots of people. And so those breadcrumbs of joy, of interest are so important to notice and follow and use, because we've all these women who've got this amazing energy, this amazing power, as you said, it needs to be used, it needs to be put out into the world.
Absolutely. So you said that this is a little bit like your story, where you
Yes.
had gone from feeling a little bit unfulfilled in some ways because the role had changed. What were some of the first things that you did to find joy?
Oh my goodness. For me, it has been a real journey. The first things for me was sorting out my physical body. So for me, it was really reducing my stress and eating well and moving in a way which was more sustainable. I was doing a huge amount of running at the time, and actually, that was actually making me more stressed, and I needed to just calm my nervous system. So, when I learned how to calm my nervous system, I suddenly found that I was able to intentionally create more space for myself. I think when your nervous system is so racked up because you're so used to being in that place where you're in your constant fight or flight, and that is how I felt most of the time, you create that cycle of busyness of constantly being busy. You feel guilty if you ever sit down and don't do anything. You know there's a million jobs to do, but actually you just you can't see the way through it to actually take some time for you. And this is something I see all the time. Being able to prioritize yourself is absolutely important. So when I started to learn to ask for help, when I learned so that I could take some space, some time for myself, that was an utter game changer because it was really at a time when I was teaching in a school. So I was a primary school teacher. So I had a class full of 30 kids every day. I had my own three kids at home. My husband was working away a lot. I was struggling with perimenopause symptoms. And I just felt like I had no space, no time at all. So, although I was running, I was doing that before I was kind of getting up really early, doing that. But actually, what I can see now, what I really need to do was do some sort of down regulation practice to
Mm-hmm.
teach, to retrain my nervous system that actually it's safe to stop. It's safe to take a break and to return back to my parasympathetic. And that, and that then helps everything in the body settle down anyway, all of those symptoms I was experiencing. So yes, finding space and time is was for me the absolute key.
I relate to that. My story would have been very similar in the sense that I was so chronically stressed that my only coping mechanism was to add more stress because I was so addicted to the cortisol and
Yeah.
the adrenaline
Yeah.
rush. And so I kept mistaking the hit of achievement for joy, for satisfaction. And it wasn't until it was December 2019, right before the pandemic hit. I had been working in my business. I was teaching school full time. That's something else we have in common. And I was also directing a children's opera chorus. And we had done 9 Nutcracker shows over the course of about 7 days. And the children's choir that I directed would sing just one song at the end of the first act, but we still had to be there for the entire leading up to the first act, all during the first act. And then we had to get down into the orchestra pit, sing our song, get back up, and then I had to wait for all the children to be picked up. Well, by the end of the ninth show, after working in my job, in my business, and for this choir, I was so depleted that I watched all the kids and their parents go off to celebrate the completion of the Nutcracker. And they went off to have dinner and ice cream. And I went home, laid on the couch. And when I noticed that the remote was too far away from me, I just decided to leave it. I just didn't have the strength to even grab the TV remote. And I laid there by myself in the dark because the lamp felt too far away without the remote. And I thought to myself, how do I get off this hamster wheel? And I didn't realize at the time I was perimenopausal. I didn't realize that I was chronically stressed. I just thought I was burning out. And I had no awareness of my own part in the burnout.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Because it's just you're so addicted to that busyness, and I also think it's energetically, if you're misaligned with what you're doing as well, that completely drains you. And I know for me that it got to a point where I wasn't really enjoying what I was doing, and I just felt suffocated with it all. And that is exhausting. And when you can free up some time and space to actually find the thing which actually you're meant to be doing and following that, then there's just much more of an ease and a flow with that. And everything feels a little bit easier. And that then you get that momentum for more joy, and everything feels like a big sigh. It's like a big exhale, a big sigh of relief.
Yes. I love that you pointed out that finding your true purpose
Yeah.
is so important. I found that for myself too. I still liked the kids, but I was so tired of the politics and the
Yeah. Yes, and
performances and yeah.
absolutely. And I think for me, that was it. I just felt like I was being pulled in so many directions that I wasn't doing anything well. And maybe that also is slightly the perfectionist in me, but I was very much constantly at the end of the day going, those three, and the turning point for me, actually, I remember so well. There were these three gorgeous girls in my class at the time, and they would always come and visit me at lunchtime when I was trying to mark books, but so I could get home at the end of the day to see my children. And this one day, I was a bit snappy with them because I just didn't have, I felt like I didn't have time. I just wanted to get on with it. And so they kind of left me. And I then obviously felt so guilty that I had been snappy at them. And I was like, this is not good. All that there's lovely girls, all they want to do is come and chat. And I just snapped at them. No one deserves that. And then I'd get home and I'd be snappy with my own children because I was so tired and exhausted. And it's like, what? This isn't good. Sadly, I think that's the reality these days of a lot of women. We're just trying to do too much,
Mm-hmm. I
too
agree.
much, and maybe not quite on track as well.
Right. And it sort of gets into a vicious cycle of you're tired, so you're snappy, and then you have to apologize for being snappy. And sometimes what you said was justified in the snap, and it really was telling your truth about what you might need or want. But then you apologize for how you said
Hmm.
it, and then you end up rolling back the boundary that you just set, and then
Yeah.
we're off to the races in a vicious cycle.
Absolutely. What did you do, Brenda, then in when you were in that place of exhaustion, of burnout? What were some of the tools that really got you out of that cycle?
The first thing I did was to admit that I was doing too much. And I didn't do anything other than admit it for about 2 months. And I just, like, it was February by the time I was thinking, I really do need to create some change. So I, went through the winter break that year. And then that was my daughter's senior year of high school. So we started school again in January. And then in February, I was really thinking to myself, I must change something. I need to either give up the opera chorus, I need to supercharge my business so I can release the teaching job. I need to do something. And then when the pandemic rolled around, I felt so guilty, but I was delighted to be sent home because the pandemic was literally a lifesaver for me because it stopped the forward momentum and gave me time to think. And that was when I decided I really do want to work in my business as my work. And so I began to think about how could I make that happen in a sustainable way. And maybe we should pick this back up on your podcast and we'll continue the
Yes.
story. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it. Perfect.
Okay, so listeners, come on over and finish the conversation over on Menomorphosis with Polly Warren.
Yes, we'll see you there.
I loved this conversation with Polly Warren, and I can't wait for you to hear the second piece of this conversation over on Polly's podcast, Menomorphosis. It will release in about a week, so be sure you go subscribe to her podcast so that you know when that episode comes out. Now, Polly has a free gift for you. It is a free 15-minute video series to help you discover if the way you're breathing is keeping you stuck in fatigue, anxiety, or tension. So sign up for the breath checkup, and I'm going to put that link in the show notes along with Polly's link so you can go connect with her over on social media. She's on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and I'll put the link for this there. And don't forget about the free workshop that I'm hosting on September 9th, Embodied Clarity. In this live trauma-informed space, you're going to learn practical energy and somatic tools that you can use right away, where you'll discover how to protect your energy, raise your vibration, and reconnect with the clarity you already have within you so that you can lead your life and your work with more presence and ease. This workshop is inclusive, immigrant friendly, and BIPOC and LGBTQ affirming. Seats are free but limited, and the replay will be available through September 11th. So if you're not available on September 9th at 5 p.m. Pacific, you can sign up anyway and catch the replay link. Also, feel free to submit your questions in advance. Reserve your spot now at brendawinkle.com/clarity, and I'll put the link in the show notes. It's really time to come home to yourself. Thank you so much for listening to the Your Yes Filled Life podcast. It's on my heart to grow this podcast so that we can get it into the ears of more listeners who need to say yes to themselves in order to bring their gifts out into the world. So I have two requests. Could you please share this episode with 3 people you care about? And could you please go leave the podcast a rating and review wherever you're listening? It's really, truly one of the most helpful things that you can do to help a podcast grow. Thank you. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you next week over on Polly's podcast, Menomorphosis, and I'll be right back here with you every Sunday and every Wednesday. Thank you for being here. Bye for now. Until next time.